Thank you, Sid. Good morning. My name is Rev Kylie Renner, and on behalf of the entire One Spiritual Center community, I want to welcome you this morning into my living room again. It is such a blessing and an honor to be able to share space together, even though we are apart during this time. And I have to say, it has been quite humbling to hear from people all over the country, all the way from Hawaii to Florida this week, saying how meaningful and important it is that we are doing this. And so I am grateful this morning for your presence here, for your courage, for your love, for your capacity to hold space for yourself and for all of the things that are seeking to change right now. And I'm especially grateful to be sitting here with Sid and Zephyr, and we are joined by a special guest today that you'll see in a minute, and I'm also very grateful for the creativity of our community as we figure out how to support one another and keep on bringing the beauty that we do even further present and reach more people than maybe we ever have before. So thank you all for being here with us this morning. And I just want to give a special shout out to some people that probably are going not acknowledged, and that was an opportunity we had yesterday to spend time at Roadrunner Food Bank. So this is a food bank here in New Mexico that I've volunteered at for the last 10 years consistently, either by myself or taking a group with me. And we were there yesterday helping prepare emergency meals. And so there's a lot of gratitude that's going out to nurses and doctors and grocery workers. And I just want to give a special shout out for the people who are working behind the scenes at places like Roadrunner, helping to get emergency food out to people. If you aren't aware, New Mexico is one of the most food unstable places in the country. And so things like are going on right now really affect us in a way that they might not affect other places. And so special love and support to all of those people keeping those agencies going right now, the people keeping Community of Hope going, making sure people who are most vulnerable amongst us are fed and taken care of right now. And so I'm grateful you are here. I'm grateful for all of the people out there who are finding ways to support one another and really remember in this deep way that we're one. And the expressions of love that I'm seeing everywhere coming out of places I didn't ever think I'd see them are quite beautiful. So we're going to take a moment to just breathe into this space together today, maybe taking an opportunity for the first time in a while to check in with what's really going on inside. Because with all of the stress and the anxiety and the unknown, it's sometimes hard to really hear and really feel. And so we just give ourselves an opportunity to open, to be aware of our breath, to be available to a peace that is bigger, a love that is bigger, an awareness that is bigger. And as we allow ourselves to become present to what it feels like to be here, to be here now, I just recognize that there is love present in and amongst and amidst all of it. I recognize love showing up in ways that are seen and unseen. Through the choices that we are making to keep each other and ourselves safe, to the choices we are making to continue to lift each other up And I just know that this love continues to grow and to expand as we are willing to be clear and powerful agents of change. And so I just welcome the blessing of peace and love. And I know that it is sweet to be here and to have this precious moment together. And so I just lean into that peace. I know that it is bigger than anything. And I let it be. And so it is. So I have a poem I've chosen to lead us into meditation today, and I want to tell you just about our special guest today, which is that our brilliant John Bartlett has graciously recorded us a meditation video this morning. So we are going to be able to cut right to him and playing for us in the way that only he can. And we're just so grateful for his creativity and for his love for our community, that he wanted so badly to be here with us and to share with this community that he made this video. So I've chosen a Hafiz poem, and it is entitled, "Now is the Time." Now is the time. Now is the time to know that all you do is sacred. Now, why not consider a lasting truce with yourself and God? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong were just child's training wheels to be laid aside when you can finally live with veracity and love. Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. That this is the time for you to compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. And so we're going to take that message into our meditation and allow John's music to guide us within. Thank you so very much, John, for that gift that you gave us this morning. How soothing and beautiful. So next, we get to hear from the amazing Sid Fendley.
This is a song by Jack Fowler. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for this precious moment when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for this precious moment when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself. So I wait for this precious moment when I hear all that could never be said, right here in this holy silence I find God. I find God, I find myself.
So I just feel like taking a breath. So if that feels natural to you, take a breath with me. So I've been talking to a lot of people over the last few weeks, and one of the most common things that seems to be coming up is the conversation about all of the things we would like to do when all of this is over. The places we want to go, the places we want to travel to, the people we want to see, the things we want to get done. And I've been noticing that while this is, I think, an important conversation to be having, the conversation about how we want our worlds to look like, and the joy and the hope of knowing that things will not always be this way. I also recognize, though, in all of that is this like human or inability to stay with what actually is. And so I'm with you. I'd rather this not be. I really would, but it is. And so how are we with what is? And what a great opportunity to be looking at this, because this is a conversation or a mental pattern that can become really, really clear. So there's this opportunity where we're being given to do some really powerful self-reflection about why is it that I can't be with what is? Why do I need it to be different? Where is that coming from? And so I've been thinking about that, and I came across this activity that someone was suggesting they do with their kids during this time, which was like anytime someone in the family said, well, I really wish we could go do this or eat here or go visit, that it all became something that was written down and put in a jar, so that at the end of all of this, that those things could get pulled out and the family could do it together. And while at the one point I thought, well, that's a great idea, that's very sweet, I realized that for me, a better thing would be to put all of those things in a jar and then to start pulling them out and asking the question, why? Or what? Because I don't know about you, but it's actually quite funny to me that when I am honest about the things that I think I want to do or the things that feel like they're standing in the way, when I actually step back far enough, they're actually not true. And my biggest example is that there was a time not too long ago where I had very, very little financial resources. And I had this in my mind that as soon as I had that, there was all these, as soon as I had the financial resources, there was all going to be these things that I was going to do. And then when I finally had the resources and I could do those things, none of the things that I wanted to do or have or buy mattered anymore. I didn't care. It wasn't where my heart was. And so this kind of self-reflection that says, what am I putting in that jar? Like, what am I putting and why am I putting it in that jar? And is there something else that I'm actually looking for that I can tap into that's more powerful than what it is I thought that I couldn't do or couldn't experience? And so this is just an interesting tendency, I think, to be in this place where it just is. Our choices are limited. But where does our choice really come from is a question I've been asking. So there's this great joke that you may have heard me tell about. It's actually, something someone's dad would post on Facebook. It's a meteorology joke. And I find it amusing on a lot of different levels because the joke goes the premise is that we've been trying to predict the weather since 3000 BCE, and the yearly budget of the National Weather Service is close to $1 billion, which does not even include all the costs incurred by privately funded meteorological institutions and the military and our local television stations and every other organization with a vested interest in predicting what the unexperienced world will be like. And so at a conservative estimate, it places the annual amount of money spent on meteorology somewhere between around $5 billion. And as a result of this investment, our weather can be correctly predicted about 66% of the time. And as a society, we will go out two out of three. Yet in some random dude simply says, I think the weather tomorrow will be same as the weather was today, he will likely be right 33% of the time. He can go for 1 for 3. So we've invested hundreds of billions of dollars and countless hours into meteorological research, with the net effect of becoming twice as accurate as some bozo who looks out the window and points at the sky. And that's the joke. Okay, so that's the joke. So I assume sometimes that this joke is about commentary about waste or an anti-intellectual criticism about science or proof that nobody knows anything. But what I actually think it's about is that we have this idea inside of ourselves that we're ready for a new tomorrow, but only if it pretty much looks like today. So we say we want change, or we say we want to transform, or we say that systems are broken and we need to do better. But what we continuously do is invest our energy in systems that are designed to just predict what has been. And we put so much of our energy into trying to control the way things are going to show up that we have so few resources inside of ourselves to actually be with what is actually trying to show up. So I've been watching that in myself, how vested I am in some sort of going back to some sort of normal that feels predictable. And I have to tell you, if you don't already know this, the normal that we were living in was pretty screwed up. That's the nicest thing I could say right now. And all of the vulnerabilities in that system and all of the ways in which they are not in alignment with what we know to be true, which is that we belong to one another, all of those are being reflected back to us so vigorously right now through all of the people who are vulnerable. And so this idea that we're going to keep on predicting what's going to happen based on what has been is a severe limitation that isn't going to allow us to actually become what we know, become something new and allow something new to happen. So I was thinking about what then do we have to do, because obviously there's something that has to happen within us that changes this desire to just keep on making things stay the way they are. So the predictability of that, Thich Nhat Hanh says, is that we as humans prefer the suffering that is known. And we are really incredibly invested in that suffering. So how powerfully can we step out of that suffering and allow something new to happen? And I keep going back to this tendency we have to not be willing to be where we are, and to be in the pain, and to be in the fear, and to be in everything that shows up, because what we want our transformation to look like is immediate, easy, effortless, conflict-free, and have nothing yucky associated with it. So this kind of transformation, though, that is calling to us requires us to step out of the future and the past and to actually be where we are. So this seminal, beautiful book by Ram Dass has been on my mind this week as a practice in this, the book entitled Be Here Now. If you have not had a chance and you have some time right now, I highly suggest it as a read. But there's this piece in it that I often think about when I start to get into the future or the past. And it's a series of questions that he asks us to be present to. And the first one is, where am I? And the answer is always here. And then the next question is, what time is it? And the answer is always now. And he asks us to ask those questions and say the answers here and now until we can actually hear it, until we actually bring ourselves here and now. And that practice, while seeming so simple, for me has been one that has allowed me to pull my energy back so that I can actually unleash creative energy in the moment instead of in some idealized, futurized fantasy land where I have some idea that something will be predictable again, where I want to invest all of my energy. I want to invest $5 billion into something predictable again. And the capacity, though, to step out of that and to just bring ourselves into the now, which is the only thing that is real, is the capacity then to unleash some energy that we've been holding back some creativity, some deep listening to what is actually possible. So while reading this week, I was drawn back to a book that I hadn't thought about for a long time. And it's a book by a educator who does wilderness training. And she takes groups of people out into the wilderness in the Pacific Northwest and teaches them outdoors. And I was thinking about it from the perspective of, one, what our educators all around the world are doing right now, trying to figure out how to change modalities, but also just from the perspective of how do we let what's in front of us teach us. And this educator tells a story about someone once telling her that teaching out in the wilderness is great, but you can't teach in the rain. And what she tells us, though, is that you actually can teach in the rain. But you teach differently. This is what she says. You learn differently. The wilderness is not merely a backdrop for this class. Everything we do is placed in the context of the wilderness. The rain is an integral element of this wild place. And the place changes you. It reaches out and grabs your attention and demands to be noticed. In the North Cascades, rain is one way the wilderness says you are not in the classroom or the city anymore. And I was struck by this imagery as it relates to what's going on around us right now. Because what it feels like is that if we allow ourselves to be here now, that we can be taught by this experience, that we learn differently by being here now, by being in the midst of the rain, and letting that experience teach us about what it is that we know to be true, where it is we are holding back, what it is we really value. And we can't get there sometimes when we're in the midst of a sunshiny day, when everything feels like it's going the way we think it should, where we have no desire to be somewhere other than we are. It's the times when we want things to be different, where we can actually be moved in a deeper way. And I just feel like this movement of spirit is so strong right now, asking for us to really use our creativity and our resiliency and our passion and our wisdom to do something new that is being unleashed in this way where I don't even think we're going to fully understand the power of it until we allow the rain to actually teach us, to actually learn from the rain instead of pushing it away. But that means that we might actually have to swallow some things that are uncomfortable. So one of the things I'm noticing in a lot of my searching to be not where I am is that what's being challenged is all of my identities and all of the ways I think things work or should work. My ideas of justice, my ideas of right or wrong, my ideas of all kinds of things. And it is challenging to look at it. And what I know, though, is that that self-reflection and that conversation and that willingness to look at all of that which is falling away is right where the learning happens. It doesn't happen in how creative we can get about being in some fantasy land or how much we're resisting just staying where we are. Where the real power comes from is being willing to be in the midst of the rain or the virus or the discomfort of not knowing how all of this is going to work out, and to sit there, to be with it, to ask the question, where am I? I am here. What time is it? Now, here, now, here, now, as many times as it takes. So there's a story about an old man who was traveling through the desert. And he came to the end of the day, and he dismounted his camel, and he made his campsite. And he was about to have his evening meal, but he realized that these dates that he had been saving, 3 of them for the end of the day, that he had been thinking about eating all day, thinking about how good they were going to taste, how hungry he was, but he was saving them. He realized as he opened the first date and looked at it that it was full of worms. And so he threw it over his shoulder and decided, okay, so he reached for the second one and held it up and looked in it and realized it too was full of worms, and over his shoulder it went and out of his tent. And so he had one more date, and he reached for his knapsack, and he heard his stomach growl, and he closed his eyes and he ate the date. And I think of that story sometimes when I'm in the midst of that thing where that it feels like I don't want to look at that, or that thing that feels like, well, I'm not ready for this to change. And that sometimes we just have to close our eyes and eat the date. We have to bring ourselves here and now to the fact that there are worms in things, that things are broken, that things are not working, that things need to change, and actually be present to them, to actually allow ourselves to eat them, to digest them, and to then use our wisdom to create something different. And so this is a powerful time. It is a time of deep uncertainty. This is a time of great creativity. This is a time of coming together in ways that we haven't ever come together before. But what I know is possible is that we have inside of us all of the wisdom and the power, especially if we allow ourselves to be here. Like, not in some other place, like here, be here. And when we are here, when we are showing up, when we are allowing our ideas and our identities to be challenged, when we are using our willingness to restructure everything in our lives so that good can come out of this experience, that there is actually a love that is unleashed, that allows for the normal that we're creating to be something so much different than what has been. And I'm really feeling that in the midst of all of that, which feels so uncomfortable, but we have to be here. Those who are willing to ask these questions, to be present in this, to be looking at where we wish we were, and to bring ourselves present back in the moment. Like we are actually needed right now more than ever before. And so I'm grateful for your willingness to ask that question, to bring yourself here and now. And I have one last practice from Ram Dass, which is that he suggests setting timers and designing your day, maybe putting up little notes places where in the midst of the very occupations that now occupy your time, that you confront yourself constantly with these questions. And so I actually made a timer for myself that goes off at random times during the day that says, where am I? What time is it? And using that as a reminder that we are being asked to be here, to not think about the future or the past, but to be here now, to be in the presence of what is now, and to know that in the eternal presence that we have resources that we have never tapped into before that are available. There are things we can hear. There's wisdom inside of us that is greater. And it's time to use it. It's time to use this tool that seems so simple, but is also so paradoxical and difficult, to just bring ourselves here and to allow the moment to teach us, to let the rain teach us, to let our experience teach us. And so I'm going to ask Sid to to play into our prayer as we sing.
Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free.
And so our prayer of love today is a prayer of being here now. It is a prayer of love for ourselves and for this whole experience that we call being here. It is a prayer that we unleash our power and our wisdom and our grace into this moment that is so calling for us to set in motion a new idea of what is possible. And so we allow ourselves to be here now so that we may listen to the wisdom of this moment, so that we may explore all of the things that we think are important, the things we think are valuable or true, and the things that really can be let go of, the things that can be released, the things that are so asking for us to find some new idea of. And I just know that the love of the one is big enough. The wisdom of the one is clear enough. And that truly transformation is happening. And so I am willing to be here now to be a transformational agent of change in whatever way I can. To do my inner work so that the world may reflect more powerfully what I know to be possible, which is that we care for one another in the way that remembers that we are one. So I just remember today that your health is my health, and my health is your health, and your love is my love, and my love is yours. And that all that is real is here and now. And so I let myself be here. And I let it be now. And I know that Spirit is present in it. And I know the healing power of this moment. And so I let go into it. And I let it be. And so it is.
Our prayer of love, it lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. At the risk of doing the opposite of what you're talking about, which is not what I'm trying to do. Seeing the scene in New York at 7 o'clock on Friday where everyone was applauding and hearing the video of and seeing the video of the thing in Italy where everyone was singing, I had to play this song, which is, I think, Ruth Thorpe, I think her name is. Above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. I really do believe there's a heaven somewhere. Up in my room, I hear music in the air. In my room, I hear music in the air, and I really do believe there's a heaven somewhere. All over the world, I hear music in the air. All over the world, I hear music in the air. I really do believe there's a heaven somewhere. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. I really do believe there's a heaven somewhere. I really do believe there's a heaven somewhere.
Thank you, Sid. That was great. It reminds me of this story. I was visiting my cousin and her young children way back. These children are now married, so this was a long time ago. And I actually was able to spend quite a bit of time with them and listen to their conversation. So Sarah, one of my cousin's daughters, she had like this imagination, and she wanted to talk about all the places they were going to go and things they were going to do. And her mom would tell her someday. And after a few days, I realized that she actually thought that someday was a day, like of the week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, someday. And so I think about that sometimes when I remember that, that someday is a day, and she's probably going to be embarrassed that I told that story because she's a young woman now. But I loved that she actually really thought someday we're going to go to Disneyland. It's the day after Tuesday. It was great. So thank you. Someday. So I just have a few things. One is that I'm just so grateful for all of the offerings that we've received over the last few weeks since we have not been meeting in person. We're just holding everything because Sid and I are both just volunteering our time to do this, and we're going to use those for those who need it, and as well as hoping to have funds available to make it easier for us to get this all back rolling as soon as we can in person. And so thank you so much. There are a couple ways if you're called to make a donation that are available. One is you can text to give. The number to text is 505-207-4916. And if you text that number for the first time, you'll be prompted to set up your giving. And then after that, all you would have to do is type in a number and send it to a text to that number, and we would receive a donation from you. Also on our website, there's a place to make a donation as well. And some people have been sending checks to my home. And if you message me, I will send you the address. I am not telling everyone on Facebook and YouTube my home address, though that does not seem safe or wise. So that is that about our offering. Thank you so much for your generosity. We are trying to support all of those who are employed by our community to make sure that they continue to have what they need. Thank you, thank you, thank you also to everyone who showed up to help make those boxes at Roadrunner yesterday. Like I said, I have never seen that particular food bank so wiped out and empty. And so if you're also called to make a donation there, a little goes a long way. They're also accepting volunteers, and they have volunteer shifts during the week, and they're doing a really good job about keeping people safe. And so if you're called, you can reach out to me if you need more information about how to make that happen, or you can go to their website. And it's pretty self-explanatory how to sign up for a shift. Their help is needed right now. I'll be back there this week to help out in any way I can. So I believe that we are ready to sing our final song. Thank you so much for being here. We miss you. And thank you for our special guest, John, for bringing that lovely meditation to us today.
One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord and we can feel alright. People get ready, there's a train a-coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith, hear that diesel humming. Don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord and we can feel alright. People get ready for that train to Jordan. It's picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key, open the doors and board 'em. There's room for all that love the most. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord. We can feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Sid. Thank you, Zephyr. Thank you. The fact that we can have the technology to do this is quite amazing. I just want to do a special shout out, though, that if there is something that you need, please reach out. We are in this together. If you even just need someone to hear, I've been doing laundry, I've been going shopping, I've been picking up prescriptions, whatever it is we can do, please let us know. We're here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have one last blessing.
Go forth and walk in beauty.